Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Wine and Chill. I'm Stephanie, your favorite recovering lawyer. I was like, the wine is stuck. We're drinking Aslina Sauvignon Blanc, my favorite, now that I have unstuck this cork. It's never happened. How are y'all doing? Also, if you're watching the replay, shout out to you. And today, it was last week. Has it been 2 weeks now? It was July 5th. We celebrated 1 year of full-time content creation on my end and this channel. This channel next month will be 3 years old. So shout out to y'all. I really appreciate y'all. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe because I know sometimes we forget. I forget. I'm definitely that way. It helps the channel grow and it helps me get, some monies to keep the channel alive. So cheers to y'all. And here we go. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying, if you are near your phone, I would put the phone somewhere else. Turn off. You can disable the phone where the phone has, certain search optimization practices. So that way you don't get bombarded with a bunch of advertisements from this company. Because today we're going to talk about Shein, and particularly the RICO case that Shein has found themselves in. And I did a bit of Googling. This is the first time a fast fashion company has been hit with a RICO lawsuit. And it is safe to say, and unless that we find research to counteract this statement, I do believe this is the first time a fashion company in general has been hit with a RICO lawsuit. This is very interesting, particularly for a company who's come under, I would say rightfully so, a lot of moral disrepute regarding their labor practices, copyright infringement, etc. The RICO charge makes sense, particularly when we get into it. All right. Yes, thank you, Jace. And this outfit we're going to see apparently is also on Shein. Ironically, this is not where that's from. I've never shopped there. So let us get into it. How are y'all doing? Yes, thank you, Casey. Don't forget to like the live as well. This is going to be our agenda. Let me make this a little bigger because y'all know I cannot see. So Shein and fast fashion, a bit of history, because I do believe that wrongfully the Gen Z young adults get blamed for fast fashion. It was we the millennials. I'm here to admit it. It was we the millennials that started this trend, and Gen Z has just taken off with it because of technology. It was really us. So we're going to do a little bit of fast fashion history. Then we're going to get into these RICO charges. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the civil. So RICO you can either be charged criminally for RICO charges or civil lawsuit. This is more civil, but RICO charges really gets the people going. So I put charges. Then we're going to get into lawsuit. And then we'll get into copyright infringement and big data thieving, which, if you didn't know, similarly as to how I didn't know, Shein, yes, operates for now as a fast fashion company. However, Shein is actually a big tech, big data success story. It is a bit Black Mirror-esque what we're going to get into, so prepare yourself. And then last but not least, a little sip and discuss. All right. Right. I should have worn a throwback from Forever 21, but none of it survived all these years. I do have in the thumbnail, that glittery top that I have on is from Fashion Nova from way back when I was in law school. Ooh, that top is at least 8 years old, maybe a decade old. It has surprisingly lasted. I obviously don't wear fast fashion. Well, it might not be obvious. I don't wear fast fashion these days. However, I'm not going to cast judgment because young me definitely did. Now, a little recap of what's going on the channel. If you have seen this random woman with a ukulele surfacing on YouTube, highly recommend you check out this quick 15-minute video I did last week regarding Colleen Ballinger, and her not so apology and potential copyright and how creators can and how some companies do weaponize copyright against other people. So that video is up. So go ahead and check that out. And then a huge thank you, as always, to Patreon, and a special thank you to Courtney, Edna, Juanita, David, and I say everybody, and Aunt Judy. I appreciate y'all, truly. All right. And on that note, so yes, last week, 10 days ago, was the 1 year anniversary of me being full-time content creation. I feel like I'm too far. Hold on. Okay, that's better. Move the table. So shout out to y'all. I appreciate y'all. So on Patreon last week, we did a full recap, the good, the bad, the ugly, how much money I made. I know people are always curious. And yes, I still believe in pay transparency. So we got down to the hard-earned pennies that I earned, to the dollar. And if you're interested in switching over to content creation, some things that I didn't realize, such as most content creators are introverts. As an extrovert's extrovert, dealing with the copious amount of free times and alone time, that was interesting. That has been a learning adjustment. Overall, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I appreciate y'all. Honestly and truly, y'all have helped me in more ways than I can explain. And because I don't feel the need to cry right now, go ahead and just watch that video. And if Patreon is not in your budget this month, don't worry about it. I'm going to do like a very quick recap for all of you, probably in next month's student loan video. So I always want to make sure that most of the information is available publicly as well. So don't worry about that. All right. Now, let's get into the claims. So as you can see, let me move me a little bit. There are 4 claims for relief from copyright infringement. Lots and lots of alleged. And honestly, it's kind of disingenuous to say alleged copyright infringement when you go through the complaint, when they're side by side of exact replica of copyright infringement. Then you have trademark infringement as well. And one of the most interesting uses of RICO is relief for violation of the Racketeer, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act, more famously known as RICO. All right. So let's get into it. Now, I see somebody asked where this top is from. This is a dress, one of my favorite dresses. And the reason why I brought it up, because unbeknownst to me in doing the research into Shein, my lovely dress, which is from Lily's Closet, cost me $42. I think very well appropriately priced. Great. It fits lovely. It has a drawstring, so you can wear it a little long or a little bit short, depending on how long you want to wear the dress. Fits great. Cinches your waist. Popped up on a one Shein. Fascinating. An uglier version, I will say, for $12.39. Now, the reason why Shein is largely profitable is because they undercut everyone, similar to Amazon and Big Bezos, and literally charge pennies. And one of the ways they charge pennies is because they don't really pay their workers much, allegedly, and all types of foolishness. Now, as you can see, this Shein knockoff is simply a knockoff. It's not as cute, and the colors are different. Everything else that we're going to see is exact replicas. This is interesting because I'll go back really quick. I purchased this dress February 19th of 2023. This knockoff was on the Shein website today when I was doing my research. So they have learned a little bit post many lawsuits to kind of alter things a smidge. The Shein was not cute at all. As you can see, having washed this numerous times, I've worn this about 4 times already. It's still bright white. It's great. The colors haven't faded, so highly recommend Lily's Closet, small boutique in Houston. If you like things that are bright and tight, which I would say I definitely fit in. I like my clothes bright and tight. Lily's Closet is for you. Small Black-owned business over in Houston. Highly recommend. All right. Now let's get into it. So I would be remiss to not give a quick, short history lesson about who really started fast fashion. And it was Forever 21. Forever 21 walked so Shein not really run, to be honest. So Shein could, as I wrote, sprint up a mountain in a 100-mile race. I know 100 M is usually 100 meters. I'm in miles. Now, if you're not familiar because you don't go to the mall has fallen out of style. Forever 21 was the OG. Forever 21 is now going through a very slow death of bankruptcy, but it was started by a couple who had recently, before they started Forever 21, emigrated to, I believe, California from Korea, and they had a plan to start a clothing company. And their clothing company was mostly at first targeted at young Korean Americans, giving, quick, low-cost fashions that mimicked the high fashion brands. Now, their fast fashion business model, which was based on quick turnaround designs that could be inexpensively mass-produced, proved wildly popular with young customers who didn't have much money to spend but wanted the latest looks. By 2015, global sales peaked at $4.4 billion, with 480 stores occupying enormous spaces in malls across America, according to Business Insider. Sook and Chang became wealthy with a combined estimated net worth of nearly $6 billion. And this was a husband and wife duo. Now, important to note, Forever 21 started in 1984. However, it is we, the millennials, that really gave Forever 21 its life. Forever 21 came into the malls in the late 90s, early aughts, and we loved it because Forever 21 capitalized on one important factor, which was conning the middle class and, truthfully, the working class into thinking instead of buying seasonal clothes, which largely Americans had done for decades, Forever 21 said, hey, go to the mall monthly. You too deserve a new crop top. And monthly became weekly. Weekly, new clothes that cost 10, 15, 20 bucks. Super, super cheap. And yes, I was definitely a Forever 21 girly. And most of those clothes ripped. But every once in a while, you would keep them for a while. This also coincided with the big boom of the dot-com era. So Forever 21 was the first, I would say, fast fashion company, the first major fashion retailer to be online, and you could shop online. And their online was pretty good. Then you have Zara, which opened in Spain in 1975 and then came to the US in 1989. I will always remember when H&M opened in 2000 in the US. They actually originally opened in 1947 in Sweden. The opening of H&M also changed the landscape of fast fashion in that Forever 21 was now seen as cheap, throwaway, but H&M was, okay, you know what? You have $30 instead of $15 to spend in the mall. And the height of this, something that glamorized, I would say, the more the versions of a Black body was Fashion Nova. And Fashion Nova initially was very much online in 2006. Fashion Nova, notoriously, when they first came out, was one of the few places where a lot of us, thick girls could find jeans that fit. And it was originally Amber Rose that popularized Fashion Nova on Instagram. And her big selling point is for if you have a small waist and a big behind. And so Fashion Nova took off. And then you have here, maybe in 2008, the exact dates for Shein are unknown, came to the US in 2017, is Shein. And Shein grossed more money than all of the latter four combined. Wild, wild amount of money. All right. So now we have this. Yes, Wet Seal. I remember Wet Seal. Y'all remember Wet Seal. They were good for a quick college club dress. Yes, Charlotte Russe as well. This was back in the day where we used to buy outfits for the occasion. And then for some reason, we thought we was rich people. Like, we can't wear the outfit again because it's already on my MySpace. Child. Y'all have seen me in the same outfits over and over again and will continue because you know what? I try to buy things that last. Now, this is from The Complaint. In its most remarkable success story in the history of fashion, just a few years later, this was after 2017, Shein is the world's largest fashion retailer with annual revenue approaching $30 billion. Now remember, at the height of Forever 21 made about $3 billion. Shein in 1 year is making 30 bill. It is an unfathomable number, truthfully. The company outsells its closest rivals, H&M and Zara combined. Forever 21 is not even, on the list anymore. The girls aren't shopping from there. And does so with no reliance on brick and mortar stores. All right. Now, one of the things, and I learned a lot in doing I told y'all to hide your phone. I forgot to hide mine. Now I'm going to get all these ads. The phone is right next to me. One of the interesting things I learned, because I'd never shopped at Shein in doing the research for this, is Shein is so wildly popular because not only does it have an online presence and a website, which, we the millennials are very used to, it has an app. It has an app that's very much gamified, to which Gen Z obviously loves an app. They've grown up on the apps. And the gamification of shopping is where Shein really thrives. So, in 2021 of May, Shein mobile app became the most downloaded shopping mobile application in the US on both iOS and Android, overtaking even downloads of Amazon's mobile application. In May 2022, the same mobile application became the most downloaded mobile application, period, point blank, in the US in any category, outperforming both TikTok and Instagram. Earlier this year, this is 2023 now, the investment firm Piper Sandler surveyed 7,000 American teens about their favorite e-commerce sites and found that Shein trailed only Amazon. The company claims the largest slice, 28% of the US fast fashion market. These are numbers we have never seen before, which is why Shein has the propensity to be so dangerous when left unchecked, because there are so many young people doing what we did as young people too, which is young people rarely have any money. Young people are doing what young people do, which is, well, I still want to look nice. I deserve nice things. Just because I don't have any money doesn't mean I don't deserve nice things. I'm going where I can get something that looks nice. However, when you buy what seemingly is a nice thing for $3, there are some problems there in which I think it would behoove us, instead of chastising young people, to educate them on what the issue really is. And some people, my age, because I know some people that, shop at the Shein as well. All right. So here we go. General allegations. Shein is a fast fashion behemoth that thrives through irredeemable intellectual property theft. Heavy emphasis on the theft. Shein is not able to give all of these young people these very cute clothes because the fashion designers at Shein are so great. One could assume by the beginning of this 57-page complaint, there are likely little to no actual fashion designers that are employed by Shein. Shein, spoiler alert, is getting all of the designs through an algorithm that is scraping the internet from places like Lily's Closet and other indie fashion brands, and literally just allegedly stealing the design, which is one of the myriad of reasons why we shouldn't support them. All right. Shein has accomplished all of this while selling $10 dresses by being more of a big tech company than a traditional fashion company. Besides revolutionizing the apparel supply chain and micro-influencing market, Shein utilizes big data at the core of its design process, which anytime you hear big data and is your data being ingested, we have to start asking some questions. I don't think that most of the people that are utilizing Shein know that Shein is literally taking all of their data and therefore getting them addicted to $10 dresses. In fact, for all the public criticism of Shein, discussed in more detail below, the story of sheer technological success is underreported. Shein became the world's top clothier. Is it clothier? Child, let me remove me and lean in because y'all know I cannot see this. Hold on. Where are we? Shein became the world's top clothier. I've never heard clothier. That's interesting. Okay. Through the deft use of artificial intelligence and an algorithm. That algorithm has handily bested every human attempt to consistently design desirable clothing. A new corporate apparel company can spend millions on trend forecasting, firms, designers, and consultants, but obviously none has achieved anything close to Shein's success. We're talking about $30 billion. And again, one of the interesting things is Shein is worth more than anyone else because Shein literally built an algorithm and was like, okay, every day I need y'all to give me not tens, not dozens, not hundreds, thousands of new designs. And that same day, I am going to use this alleged sweatshop, create the design, create the clothing, and sell the clothing. Okay, let us get into it. All right. And American consumers have become addicted to the Shein apps because in addition to the most advanced psychological manipulations, one can never finish scrolling through the trending offerings, all of which are very available at their incredibly low prices. In this regard, the company adds thousands of new products. Later on in the complaint, they state the company adds literally 6,000 to 20,000 new products a day. A day. Sheng Lu, an associate professor of fashion apparel studies at the University of Delaware, estimates that Shein's business model generated 20 times as many new items as H&M or Zara in 2021. It has been said that one can't finish scrolling Shein in the same way that one can't finish TikTok. I don't think we need to belabor the point of how wildly problematic that is to train young people, particularly young women, to scroll down a bottomless pit in this unsatiable desire to then post their clothing on social media. Oh, I was about to say we're going to need more wine than this, but I have the bottle. Okay, good. All right. Enter the complaint. Now that we've gotten the basics out there. So I love a spicy intro. So shout out to this lawyer for very much giving us the spicy intro we deserved. Because I know I delved right into it, but let's back up for a second. For all the scrutiny given to TikTok, it's surprising that Congress has not considered more dramatic action against the Chinese fast fashion giant Shein. The brand sells more clothing than any other in the world and recently raised capital at a staggering 100 billion valuation. Like TikTok, USD, by the way, United States dollars. Like TikTok, Shein's business model depends on collecting a shocking amount of data from its customers, which most of these customers, I would bet, do not know that Shein is collecting data on them, which it then reverse engineers into fast fashion trends. Shein is actually a greater societal threat than TikTok because it contributes mightily to serious problems beyond data security and privacy, such as environmental damage, sweatshop or worse labor conditions, tax avoidance, child safety, because allegedly they are using child laborers in these sweatshops, as well as the subject of this lawsuit, large-scale and systemic intellectual property theft from U.S. designers, large and small. And it has to be noted that a lot of these small independent designers are Black and Latino designers. They know. They said, oh, America has a racism problem? Okay, cool. Let's target these Black and brown people because they ain't got no money, and who's going to care if we steal their things? Worse, there's every worry that Shein's high-tech business model described below will spread and lead other industries on a race to the bottom. It can never be stated enough times that Amazon started off as a very innocuous online bookstore. If you are of that age, cheers to you. If you remember when Amazon was only the big evil online bookstore trying to put Barnes & Noble and Books A Million out of business. I don't think their end game is just close. I doubt it. All right. Hold on. Is it the top of it? One wonders what is effectively the world's third most valuable private company doesn't do more to shed its outlaw status. It is the third most valuable company after, I believe it is Apple and then maybe Amazon. I'm not sure if, what is that? There's an Amazon version. Who's calling me? See, hold on. They're going to screw my, hold on. It's my little sister. I'll call her back. All right. Nike devotes unlimited resources to avoiding any hint of sweatshop conditions or other supply chain scandals, while Shein somehow survives grave reports of slave labor and unsafe children's clothing. As explained below, it turns out that avoiding direct blame is another key aspect of Shein's business model, as it is decentralized, which we'll talk about that more because that has to do with the RICO claims. Decentralized structure often allows it to plausibly redirect blame to third parties as if they were independent, when in fact they are closely controlled by Shein. So far, bad press has obviously not taken Shein down. Excited micro-influencers, which we're not going to talk a lot about the micro-influencers, but they did come under, appropriate scandal the other day because Shein picked a group of influencers to take to an alleged factory. And I say alleged factory because anyone that has worked in labor and employment pointed out that the factory wasn't giving factory. It was missing a lot of the things that are usually in a factory. It was giving staged. So a lot of these influencers then came under fire, and particularly the one who's on the thumbnail, because she then proceeded to say a bunch of foolishness, child, and then got read for filth. To extol the virtues of their $100 Shein haul, even as they come out firmly against overflowing landfills. When news hit of Shein selling swastikas or Muslim prayer rugs being sold as decorative mats or necklaces with the word Allah in Arabic, which is a no-no, you can't write Allah or show depictions of Allah, being sold with others reading baby girl and Scorpio, the backlash has always been minimal because Shein often will say, oh, this wasn't the parent company. We didn't know that occurred. However, as we're going to get into, nobody knows who the hell the parent company is or who the actual owner is, which is why there are pending RICO charges. All right. So Shein gets away with little more than comically token explanations and apologies. And it's a train wreck. It's a dumpster fire. Now, this specific lawsuit, 3 independent designers allege that Shein produced, distributed, and sold exact copies. So not like this one where you see they switch things around, exact replicas of their creative works. As shown below, these are not familiar close call legal claims where a corporate apparel manufacturer takes inspiration a bit too liberally. At issue here inexplicably and truly exact copies of copyrightable graphic design appearing on Shein products. All right, so we're not going to go through all of this. The lawsuit is quite long, but I did highlight a few portions for us to go to. The brand has made billions by creating a secretive algorithm, so a little bit more about this algorithm, that astonishingly determines nascent fashion trends. And by coupling it with a corporate structure, including production and fulfillment schemes that are perfectly executed to grease the wheels of the algorithm, including the unsavory and illegal aspects. So essentially, the algorithm states, okay, that green and white dress that Stephanie bought in February, we see the girls really would like that for summer. They didn't do an exact replica of this. Maybe an exact replica was on there before and they took it down. They will then take the dress, put it on their website, and because they are utilizing alleged sweatshops, I have to think about how to say this, alleged sweatshop, if you can put a product into distribution in less than 24 hours, trust and believe you're not paying them people good. There's no way. That doesn't make logistical sense. There's no way. And then next thing you know, Susie, who's 14 at home, she orders it. It pops up at her doorstep 2 days later. That's what Shein is doing. To the uninitiated, the consumer-facing aspects of the model are utterly unfamiliar. Thousands of new items are offered for sale every single day for prices low enough to render the garment truly disposable. Now, again, there in the thumbnail, you see things for $14, $15, $12. There are things on Shein for $4. No piece of garment clothing costs $4 to actually make, which means if they're selling it to you for $4, what the hell did they pay the person that made it? Pennies on the dollar. And there's no argument to be had, as some people make the very foolish, very, you know what, anti-intellectual argument of, well, if it weren't for these factories, people wouldn't have jobs. That's not true. That's literally not true. They have $30 billion in revenue annually. They could pay these people a livable wage. Okay. All right, so let's get into the RICO, which this is, I would say, one of the most fascinating parts of this complaint, which I don't think I linked it yet. I'll make sure to go ahead and link the complaint. Fascinating because this is the first time, I believe, that we are seeing a fashion company be sued for RICO charges. What comes to mind when you think of RICO is usually the mob, the mafia, organized crime, not really a fashion company. So as you can see here, this is John Gotti, most famous RICO case. Also Miami, lots of Miami was built because of various organizations that then were indicted on RICO charges. I mean, in a city that don't have no city tax and no state tax, what did y'all think was going to happen? It was drogas. It was drogas built the majority of Miami. All right. Now, RICO, according to the Department of Justice, this is the Organized Crime and Racketeering Act, as you can see here. This is from Sopranos. It's a stereotype and it's offensive. Usually, yes, has to do with the mob, the mafia, anything having to do with organized crime, and people that participate in those types of things. And most recently, we did, actually, I think this was last year, Young Thug and Gunna, which was a very much departure, I would say, from RICO, were charged under RICO criminal charges. And that is the first time you're now seeing young, I would say is very interesting because RICO is not supposed to stretch this way, where it looked as if the prosecutor used RICO, which is supposed to target organized crime, to target a small music company and say they were operating as a gang, because there was a little bit of gang affiliation, but it didn't necessarily fall into that. So we covered that in that older video. And I do think I have the definition of RICO coming up as well. One second, let me double check. Okay. Yes. Okay, perfect. So I'll make this big. I'll should put me to the side. This one. Okay, here we go. So racketeer influence in corporate organizations. RICO, as it's most famously known, is the purpose of the RICO statute is the elimination of the infiltration of organized crime and racketeering into legitimate organizations operating in interstate commerce. AKA, the way RICO was first used by the mob and the mafia in the United States was, hey, we have all this dirty money. We need to wash this money. And the only way we're going to wash this money is by using legitimate organizations. So let's use Miami as an example. A legitimate organization is Miami needed highways. The dirty money built a lot of them highways. It did. And I'm going to turn the AC on, so let me know if it's loud, and I'll turn it off. It's hot in here. Actually, I think I might scrunchie too, so if it's loud, I'll turn it off in a second. Okay. Rightfully or wrongfully, I'm not saying I agree. And then racketeering is the dishonest and fraudulent business dealings. So if you think of racketeering and RICO as a whole, then it kind of makes sense when we talk about Shein as to how the hell they are getting a lawsuit citing RICO against them, which is the dishonest and fraudulent business dealings. Shein has built an amalgamation of corporations, just as a previous to what we're going to get into. And no one quite knows who the hell owns Shein. And they have built, allegedly, according to this lawsuit, all of these different corporations in order to steal designers' work. That's the short end of it. All right. So, and these are a few of said organizations. So, Defendant Shein Distribution Corporation is listed. Defendant Shein Fashion Group. Roadget Business PT Ltd. And then you have Zotop Business Company Limited. And those aren't the only ones. We have a full list, which we'll go through in a second. So according to the lawsuit, Shein is not a single integrated entity as it portrays itself. Rather, it is an association, in fact, of a decentralized constellation of entities designed to avoid liability improperly. So essentially, the way a regular company would work, let's take YouTube, for example. YouTube is owned by Google. Everyone knows that. I'm a content creator, technically, I'm a contractor for YouTube. Google AdSense pays me every month. I know that if something were to happen, I can go ask Google, I can go ask YouTube. It is a centralized, integrated corporate structure. I'm sure YouTube has other smaller companies it owns. It's very easy to look up. It's publicly available knowledge. Shein, on the other hand, there is no parent company. There are no subsidiaries. It is not set up that way. So far, for convenience, this complaint has referred to the wrongdoer as Shein, as if it were a single business unit. That makes sense because this is how Shein refers to itself and how the entire world refers to and thinks of Shein. And indeed, there's no obvious reason for Shein to adopt a structure other than the traditional parent and subsidiary model used by virtually every other similar international retailer, including Shein's fast fashion rivals. However, there is no company. So on Shein's website, it says, we employ 10,000 people, to which the complaint states there is no one company employing 10,000 people. Rather, Shein is a loose and ever-changing, though still continuous, even as some individual elements might change to be replaced by others, association, in fact, of entities and individuals. So specifically, some of the defendants in this lawsuit did not exist before 2020. So according to the lawsuit, whenever Shein gets sued by one, they just create a new company to shield liability. All right. So this is Shein's alleged corporate structure according to the complaint. And this is alleged because at the time of the complaint, the lawyers were still researching how many damn businesses are associated with Shein. So you see in the middle, you have Guangzhou International Import and Export, Style Link Logistics, Shein Distribution UK. Okay, they said the UK is in it too. Shein Group, which is in Hong Kong. Zenith Business, which is in London. Elite Depot is in the Cayman Islands. The Cayman Islands is famous not just for their sunny beaches, but for money laundering, allegedly. Infinite Style E-commerce. Did I say Dublin? Dublin, Ireland. Everybody's in it. Beauty of Fashion Investment. Where do we? British BVI, British Virgin Islands. Shein Fashion Group. Here we go. This is in the USA. Beijing Information Technology in Beijing, of course. Websites outside of the EU, which some of those hold the trademark, etc. This is a cluster. I have worked at some places, startups that are trying to wrongfully raise money in very, I would say borderline illegal ways, set up their corporate structure as a mess. The messier the corporate structure is, the more likely illegality is occurring. I have never seen anything like this in my life. All right. The chart accurately portrays the difficulty in pinning down exactly what Shein is, but in fact, the truth is far more complicated, as plaintiffs' own research has revealed, confirming that Shein is a loose and overtly decentralized amalgamation of entities as described below. One way in which the Shein Enterprises uses its Byzantine structure to advantage is when making it impossible for intellectual property plaintiffs to figure out who to sue. So specifically, this lawsuit is by three independent designers, and the reason why this lawsuit is getting so much attention, why they decided to attach RICO to it, was the lawyers couldn't figure out, well, what entity are we supposed to actually sue? Because we have the evidence that they stole the dress, they stole the painting, they stole these things. It's copied and paste. But every time they would go to sue Shein, whichever entity they sued would say, no, you have the wrong entity. That's not correct. To which, of course, and I say this in not a petty way, but in a factual way, judges are very busy, particularly district court judges. They see thousands of cases. So if the corporation is saying, no, I didn't do it, I don't know where they got that from, the judge at that time, when they were continuing this process, was not privy to that giant chart of, okay, they're saying it's not them, but clearly they know who it is. Maybe it's Cayman Islands, maybe it's Dublin, maybe it's in Hong Kong, but they know, Your Honor. And because the plaintiff's lawyers at first did not have access to all the information, they kept getting thrown out of court. A common initial defense offered by Shein in response to a simple letter directly from an obvious aggrieved artist is to claim that whatever entity was contacted is not the one who committed the infringement. Obviously, such suggestions are hard to square with Shein's boast of integrated company for cutting-edge big tech and big data style design mechanisms from production to fulfillment. So when you go on the Shein website, it will tell you, we have 10,000 employees, we're using your data, we're using your data for you to make sure you only get sparkly earrings and you know where on the app to go. But then if you say, hey, those sparkly earrings actually come from a small UK designer, did you give so-and-so her coins? Did you license this? What's the problem? The answer you will receive is, I don't know what you're talking about. Please go see the proper entity, while they don't tell you the proper entity. So here are all the potential entities listed in the lawsuit. So all the ones on the left, I think I listed, and then you have Mr. Zhu, the founder, Shein Fashion Group Inc., Beauty of Fashion Investment, which is a holding company based in the British Virgin Islands, Zenith Business Company, primary UK holding company, Chinese production entities at large, and those specifically potentially numbering in the hundreds. So those are the actual factories, which Shein claims that they do not own the factories, that the factories are third parties. However, they are the ones instructing said owners of the factories to work these people to the bone. So they might as well own them. Then an entire group of various Shein law firms. And then, last but not least, Shein marketplace participants. And the marketplace participants is particularly interesting because Amazon is a marketplace that most people are familiar with, where if you shop on Amazon, you're not necessarily buying from Amazon. You might be buying from someone who's listing their product on Amazon. By the way, Amazon is trifling. Shop at Costco. We can all get there little by little. At least don't buy next day. And with that, most people never realized or were not made aware that Shein allegedly is also operating as a marketplace, and Shein might not actually be operating as a marketplace. They have started to tell people whenever there have been apparent abuses of Shein, for example, showing using the prayer rugs, they have blamed third-party marketplace participants. But you can't blame third-party marketplace participants when you're simultaneously saying, hey, we own everything, we're doing all this together. All right, a sip. Yes. Okay, let's not engage in xenophobia, friends. Exactly. This has nothing to do with China as a country. This has to do with late-stage capitalism, because some of these American companies, y'all, are equally awful, doing equally awful things. So I'm not watching the chat, but thank you, Jace, for that. And I'll make sure to go look over there as well, because as you can see, there are US entities listed on this long list of Shein companies. So be aware of that. If you think Big B is any better than this, I hate to break it to you. That man is equally as awful. All right. Let us continue. I'm going to keep that. Thank you, Jace. I'm going to keep that up on the screen for a little bit. All right. So, for example, this is just one example of what happened to one of the plaintiffs. So, one of the plaintiffs alleged a simple and obvious infringement by Shein. So, they had copy and paste, like, hey, come on, you stole my thing. What is the problem? Against SPSFG and Zotop, not the Zoes in it, Zotop defended, and the enterprise as a whole largely avoided liability. Zotop, which is one of the enterprises, which could not be served except under Hague, which is, the Hague is an international legal structure, judicial structure, let's just put it that way, was found to be a necessary party, and the only proper party before the court, according to Shein, was SFG, which Shein pointed out does not own, operate, or control the website www.shein.com. It books no revenues from the website and did not make, sell, or offer for sale the process, returns of, or otherwise distribute the allegedly infringing t-shirt. In other words, there was no one to recover from due to Shein's multiplicity of entities, even though the infringement was clear and even though Shein takes in virtually unlimited money from consumers. On information and belief, these are regular and recurring practices employed at the Shein law firms to defend individual components of the Shein enterprises as required in a given case. All right. So as you can see, if you sue, all you're going to do is get the runaround. Yes. So Temu, this is really interesting before we hop into it. Cali Coco, when are they going after Boohoo and Temu? Rumor has it Temu is Shein in disguise because they knew that RICO was coming. So funny enough, one of Shein's corporate entities that just popped up after 2020 recently sued Temu, claiming trademark infringement and trade secret infringement, which is fascinating. Temu, if you're not aware of, is basically a Shein duplicate. All right. Okay, I think I found the problem. Okay. All right, and into the labor allegations, which we won't spend a lot of time on, but need to be noted as well. So, allegations of forced labor, specifically Shein cotton apparel sourcing practices appeared to be in direct violation of the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. Then you have other labor violations outside of concerns about forced labor. A 2022 investigation by Channel 4 found a pattern of labor practices. It should be noted, since this came up as well, if we're talking about the U.S. labor practice as well, the U.S. is now passing laws to roll back the age of which children can operate heavy, dangerous machinery in certain states from to be an adult now to 14 years of age. And specifically, the children that will be impacted this are largely migrant children. And one such child, unfortunately, as reported by ProPublica, at 8 years old, did pass away last year. So this idea that, oh, this is only one part of the world in which this is taking place is not true. Late stage capitalism cannibalizes everyone. And that is likely what people are doing. All right. And not likely, that is what these corporations are doing. Okay. All right. Yes. Thank you, Ophelius. Y'all remember capitalism real... English is going great. Y'all remember capitalism is the real issue, not China specifically, right? Like, we got companies based here that do the same things. Exactly. So we got to fight the fight on all the fronts. So focus your minds. Okay. And then, of course, tax avoidance, which none of these rich people, Bezos, the former Orange president, none of their corporations, they are all skimping on taxes. It is we, the regular people, paying for the roads in the street. And that is a problem. That is a problem. All right. So on to copyright infringement. So this case is mostly, as you saw, I believe it was 4 claims or 5 claims for copyright infringement, mostly about copyright infringement. And RICO is showing how they get to the copyright infringement. Okay. Oh, look at y'all. Y'all are the best. Late stage capitalism is happening here too. Just because the media, you know, a little Medea for you. Just because the media doesn't say it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Exactly. Okay. I appreciate y'all clapping back at the xenophobia because I truly wasn't even looking over there. So thank you. All right. So the carbon copy infringements that are the subject of this lawsuit perfectly illustrate this illicit process, and many similar examples can be found in the many other lawsuits against Shein clogging the federal courts. They have over 50 lawsuits currently in the federal courts regarding copyright infringement, as well as designers legitimately venting their grievances on social media. My grandma loves Medea, by the way. It's a whole separate conversation. Amen. Amen, Chris. Back to church too. Listen. Shein regularly commits the most egregious intellectual property infringement, which is baked into the business model. So, Wall Street Journal reporting in 2022 that Shein, in particular, had over 50 outstanding federal cases. This is just federal. There's also state cases levied against them in alleging trademark or copyright infringement. And it should be noted, for you to get to the federal level, for you to even get a lawsuit, means you would have to be a designer that had the time. Again, they're targeting independent designers, many of which, just by going through some of the lawsuits, are Black and Latino. They know. They said, oh, America, y'all got a racism problem. You ain't gonna believe these people. Anyways, T-fit. That's what they're doing. The algorithm is not done. The algorithm is designed to see, like, hey, all right, we're gonna take this. And now you have to get a designer that knows their rights, that knows, like, okay, let me get a lawyer. Who is a lawyer that will take my case? I might not necessarily have a lot of money. I'm an up and coming designer. I'm working out of my house. So they're probably getting a family friend that's a lawyer, or, somebody else. That lawyer, then their whole goal is to get restitution for their client. They don't necessarily have the man hours to go after a company that literally makes $30 billion annually. Third highest valued company in the world. All right. So here we go into some specifics. Given the scale of Shein's design and production machine, generating 6,000 new styles per day, there are some designers that will never sell 6,000 different styles in their whole lifetime. But that's a wild number. The only way the algorithm could work, and how it has been widely reported, is if very little information is communicated to the Shein quote unquote designers. They don't really have designers, to be honest, to the extent that humans are involved, and factories other than the bare minimum information. So Shein's design process targets smaller scale designers in a way that simply disregards whether it generates an infringing copy. It does not care. The algorithm literally is like, you know what? This designer made 10 of these dresses and 10 sold out in one day. That's a hot one. Take it. That's all it's doing. Yes, come on with the history, Cali Coco. All right, Shein's method is different. When the algorithm spits out a design, which is likely to be an infringement, it produces very small quantities of the item for sale. For each new product sold on the Shein website, the initial production run is as low as 100 to 200 units per SKU. The SKU is the number assigned to the garment. All right, compared to the thousands of pieces, hopefully they're not selling people, child. Pieces typically produced by traditional peer retailers. Shein then offers the goods for sale via its online channels, where millions of young people are waiting to look and purchase in that never-ending scroll, and waits to see if anybody complains that the design was stolen. If the algorithm generates an exact copy of a Nike product, alarm bells will ring at the company's brand protection vendor, because Nike has billions of dollars. So Nike basically runs a software where it says, anybody even makes anything with the swoosh, joke's on you. You're going to get the cease and desist. You're going to pay X amount of money. Nike has a huge, huge, huge army of legal. You're not getting away with that. However, because Shein, again, is running 100 to 200 per garment, it's usually getting away with it when it copies a smaller brand. So there is, and the algorithm most likely, basically on these guesses, because Shein has stated, yeah, we use an algorithm. The algorithm is good for you, and it gives you what you want. And the reason why it's going after the smaller places is if they only sell 100 and 200 of this dress, for example, say they copied it. Well, what's the likelihood that the actual owner, which is Lily's Closet, is going to see that 100 to 200 of this was sold on Shein when Shein app is a never-ending scroll? How is she going to know? Say she has probably, I think on average, most of these smaller boutiques, maybe they have 30 to 50 SKUs, garments at a time. They're not searching every single day, okay, green multicolored dress everywhere on the internet to make sure no one is copying it. They don't have the time. They're trying to make sales. They're trying to pay their light bill if they have a brick and mortar. They're trying to pay their employees. They're trying to make sure they come with new designs. They're trying to make sure if they're not the actual designer, that they're sourcing from a designer that they like. They're trying to make sure their customer service, fulfillment. Shein knows what they're doing. All right, so let me make this a little bit bigger so y'all can see it. Under those circumstances, Shein reaps all the benefits of stealing and featuring the design that is technologically has identified as valuable enough to take. It makes sales and keeps its customers' eyes glued to the Shein site and app for that much longer. And if the customer demand justifies it, the item is reordered and more are sold. Now that the coast has been determined to be cleared. So once they realize the small designer didn't clock them, they go from 200 SKUs to 2,000, 3,000, and they start selling more. And largely, if you then introduce TikTok into this, TikTok, then you have the younger micro influencers going on TikTok being like, I bought this dress is so cute. The dress goes viral on TikTok. By then, maybe when 50,000 were sold, then the designer is like, hey, you bought this on Shein for $5? That dress cost $50. What's the problem? And by then, it's so late. It's so late for the designer, and the only restitution they get is this lawsuit. And the lawsuit, the largest issue they're having is finding out, well, who the hell is the actual company to sue, because Shein.Inc. does not exist. All right. Sometimes even a small scale independent designer is alerted to the infringement, perhaps because a customer or friend happens to see it and complains to Shein. In these cases, Shein quickly apologizes, blamed an unnamed third party for the misconduct, and reports, often but not always accurately, that sales were shockingly low. So then Shein essentially allegedly lies. And it's like, well, you know what, girl, nobody really bought it. So like, what was the problem? But they don't offer any actual metrics to show whether or not they made any sales. Given that sales were negligible, allegedly, and because the transgression was not Shein's fault after all, Shein might offer a very small settlement. And again, once you sign the settlement, you waive your rights. So you've essentially said, okay, I can't sue you again, even though Shein probably screwed them. Further, it might make such offer in a way that makes further negotiations seem doomed to fail. In Miss Perry's case, so Miss Perry is one of the three plaintiffs she tried to sue before. Discussed above, Shein made its offer as if it were a mom and pop operation rather than one of the richest enterprises in the world. Under the circumstances, accepting $500 can seem like a win. They teased her things and then told her, you know what, girl, $500. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right. So this I thought was really interesting in that there's a lot of bait and switch happening on the Shein website, in which that test, I would say like that test and release trial that we just discussed is called LATR model, according to Shein, which is the large scale automatic test and reorder. So where they test small batches. So instead of outrightly, because of course it's a corporation trying to make money, say, hey, yeah, of course, like we're stealing small designer stuff so you can get away with it. Shein has repackaged this and said, we're doing this in the name of sustainability, which is flabbergasting and villainously comical to say that Shein is doing anything in a sustainable way. So according to their website, this is on their website, they stated, for each new product sold on Shein website, the initial production run is low, 100, 200 per SKU, compared to the thousands of pieces typically produced by traditional retailers. We then use algorithms, so they admit they use the algorithm, to gauge customer interest in real time and provide feedback to our supplier partners, empowering them to increase or stop production based directly on market demand. We embrace a data-driven test and learn approach to improve efficiency and minimize product waste. That's very interesting. So they further on say, through our unique on-demand business model, we are able to consistently limit excess inventory to single digits, a percentage that is quite different than the traditional retailers and one that results in sustainably less waste. Shein alone and Amazon is filling many countries, both of them, so many landfills that it is almost egregious to say this is sustainable and we don't have that much waste. And by stealing, we're doing everyone a good service. Wild. We haven't finished the wine in a long time. Okay. So I think we're almost done. So I send y'all to dinner. When generating sales of 24 billion in a year, Shein could easily tolerate hundreds of millions in settlements before it could consider jettisoning the model. So it's 24 billion to 30 billion. It depends. I've seen both reported. That they could easily pay out hundreds of millions of dollars. Because remember, to get $1 billion, you have 999 million plus one. These are astronomical ass numbers. In other words, if left unchecked, defendants in Shein will continue to greatly damage the careers of the independent designers whose ideas it misappropriates and continue to ignore related congressional inquiries. They are essentially not incentivized to actually pay out the cost for their copyright infringement. They have so much money and they're getting away with giving people $500 back. Like, yeah, I stole it, but it was an accident. So here's $500. Wild. And a lot of these smaller businesses are instead, unfortunately, going out of business because once you hook their main demographic, which is younger people, on $12. So, for example, this was on Shein, a knockoff-ish, for $12. This was $42. $42 is a regular price. Is it the cheapest price? No. Is it the most expensive price? No. Is it a good quality? Have it worn it multiple times? Yes. Are the colors still correct after washing it multiple times? Yes. $42 is a normal price. When you have now conditioned the target audience to pay $12, they're not going to shell out the $42. So you have essentially ruined the business for the small business owner. Oh, almost knocked over the wine glass. But yes. So that is where we are. All right, so let's go through some comments before I let y'all go. And I let me go because it's hot as hell in here. All right, and if you just tuned in, go ahead and scroll to the beginning. I'll put the... Honestly, I should just put this on the screen, which is who is running this place. We'll just leave that on the screen. All right. Okay, let's go through some of these comments. Oh, I love the throwback fashions. Rainbow. I forgot about rainbow. Okay, I'm putting my woo, it's hot here. Let me put this in. Are we even? Okay, I think we're even. Okay, we're not even. You know, the camera doesn't give you the mirror view. Whatever. Y'all can't see the top of it. It's fine. This is the end. Okay. All right. Yes, Alicia B. I love that you wear the same things. It's reality. That's why we have washing machines. LOL. Wear them, girl. Yes. And, you know, as somebody who finally can afford a washing machine in my apartment, I was definitely doing that New York walk. This is going to drive me up the wall. Hold on. Why is this not even? I'm like, where's in the middle of my head? I definitely utilize my washing machine now that I don't got to walk outside. Hold on. The mirror is right there. I'm over here fooling with this in the camera. Okay, now we're even. Whew, it's hot in here. I'll have officially made it. No, that's probably not. That's not going to happen. Central air. Once you have central air in New York, that's wild. That's a wild life you're living. Good for you. Yes. Y'all heard about the influencers who went to Shein's so-called innovation center. That was also very wild. Very wild. And this Sydney Gross. Also, Shein has harsh working conditions. Several times I've had help me on the tags of my clothing. Which we talked about it for a second, but we didn't talk about it a lot because that would honestly and truly deserve its own live stream. Which, hold on, let me fix this. That would deserve its own live stream along with U.S. labor practices because people seem to think that these issues are only going on there. The working practices for these fast fashion companies, the labor conditions for these fast fashion companies, for Amazon. Listen, don't nobody need next day delivery. Nobody needs next day delivery from Amazon. Very few people. No. People unfortunately pass away in the Amazon facilities. We have to do better and lobby for actual working rights, which a lot of the labor rights that we have in this country alone are being eroded. They are being eroded. All right. Ooh, I've only heard clothier when talked about the luxury and ultra luxe fashion girls. Maybe that's what they're alluding to. I was like, what is this? I've heard atelier, but I was like, what's a clothier? Yeah. Wow, it's definitely suggestive of an algorithm ripping things off 10 to 20K new items a day. Exactly. A human being cannot process that much in a day. It's not possible. This reminded me actually of, do y'all remember the LuLaRoe lawsuit that we covered, which LuLaRoe was the infamous legging company owned by this family that they were running a pyramid scheme. And essentially, by the end of it, the leggings were of questionable design choice to begin with. But by the end of it, the designers were so tired, they just started making things uglier and uglier and just putting random patterns on there because they were required to put so much output into the print production. And even then, the most they were doing was like 50 a day, max. Oh, so many questions, so many questions. All right. Yes, that's what I was thinking. Alibaba. Okay. I was like, that's in the top 3. Okay. I couldn't remember the name. Listen, Ophelius, we're aging like fine wine, I like to believe. We're aging like Sancerre. All right. Listen, I don't know if I'm saying it right either. I'm tuning in just to learn how to pronounce Shein. Child, I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure somebody will leave a comment if it's incorrect. Yes, Brittany. Also, what it's made out of is highly probable. Like, it's not real fabric. It's plastic and polyester. There's a reason why people say buying good fabrics, it lasts longer. There's a reason why our grandmother's clothes are older than us. It lasts a long time. Ankara, great shelf life. It's made out of wax cotton. Lasts a really long time. Keeps the color. Yes, from an expert. As somebody, Ali Darful, as someone who makes clothes, yes, clothes do not cost $4 in labor plus material. Exactly. Exactly. Whew. Okay. You know what? This is really interesting. Blue Quartz. I wonder who's their GC. Like they're paying their lawyers and government consultants. I think I highly doubt they have a GC. I'm sure every single of the shell corporations has its own GC. That's what I would assume. And I would also assume probably to uphold plausible deniability, which is, I don't know. I didn't see nothing, hear nothing. They probably don't even communicate with each other. Oh. Mm-mm-mm. All right. Well, let me go. Oh, did I miss one? Thank you, Pharma DAs. I may be ignorant, but if these fast fashion places use polyester and other terrible materials, why not get your clothes made in those countries like Indonesia instead of paying retail? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I fully understand the question. But I will say, just as something I've learned as I've gotten older and have been more discerning about my clothes, because truthfully, I've gotten a little bit more money when I finally was making lawyer salary when I was a lawyer, and I still wasn't buying things that were super expensive. The more money you have, the easier it is to be discerning about clothing, which is why I'm not trying to frowns up or chastise the Gen Z young people for buying Shein. I was a millennial Forever 21 wearer, 1000%. However, I do think in telling people like, hey, don't buy this because all these awful things are happening and this is not good for you anyway, and etc. There are also like decent alternatives, which are you can buy from a boutique. You can buy from a boutique where the clothes are a bit better. They'll last you longer. I think it's a little bit harder to do, but I don't think it's that hard, truthfully. So I try to like just keep lists of places where I'm like, I like the clothes, and then also places that do like upcycling. Random and Chic comes to mind, where she basically upcycles like thrifted clothes, and they're really good quality. Like I've worn the top. I have like a couple outfits from her every once in a while where it's, I don't know where she got it from, but I know that the quality was good enough where she changed the fabric. So I do think kind of telling people from the beginning, like, hey, just slowly stop buying from there, is always like kind of helpful. So all right. Listen, I'm just gonna say that. Yeah, they have 3 hour here too. And I'm like, oh, there are few people. And I think like if you are differently able, then maybe I could see how it could come up. But there are very few people that qualifies that. Most of us can just go to the store. Most of us can go to the store and stop the foolishness. Okay, let me make sure I catch anything else. Yes, it's a good point. Go to Marshall, TJ Maxx for clothes. A lot of my clothes last super long and are cute. Exactly. There are lots of places where you can go and the clothes will last longer and you're not harming nobody. And also like support the smaller designers. I haven't worn it in a while. Actually, did I wear it the other day? I might have worn it the other day, where I try to buy from like smaller indie designers because A, they don't got that much money. So they're only making like 50, 100 of the product anyway. So you know that they made it in an actual store. They can't be oppressing people that bad, I don't assume. And then you can look into them as well. But then you've helped somebody out. It also looks nice. It generally lasts longer. But I have like a few stuff like that I try to buy from. So it's it's a give and take. I would say it's like a learning curve, but once you get there, it becomes a lot easier. So oh, that's cool. I get my people in Indonesia to dupe some of my favorite pieces. Listen, I don't feel bad when people dupe the big luxury retailers, because a lot of these big luxury retailers do take advantage of people. Like if you ever look at some of the Italian leather, how it's made, is giving borderline sweatshop as well. And they have the money to pay those people and they don't. So listen. All right. Okay. Not these ads. Listen, hopefully y'all don't get any awful ads from watching this, but I appreciate y'all. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe. Liking the video helps the algorithm know that the video is decent, and then that more people are allowed to even see that the video exists. So it does help a lot. So I appreciate y'all. And yeah, we are going to cover on Instagram tomorrow the SAG-AFTRA strike. We covered the writer's strike. We're going to cover SAG-AFTRA strike. We've covered Amazon strike before. I think the SAG-AFTRA strike is of importance, similar to all the other unions and strikes, but I do think it holds a special place because of the way our society is set up, rightfully or wrongfully. People love celebrity. So I do think people seeing that, oh, a celebrity can do it, shit, like this on fire too. I think it could be helpful. So we're going to go through it. Also, I really enjoyed Fran's speech. It was ironically comical parts of it. I was like, she's not trying to be funny, but she is. So we're going to go through that, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow on Instagram. If you miss it, don't worry. It'll go on Patreon for all the tiers. And what else do we have coming up? Joseph and student loans. I mean, I put a thing on Instagram because people are asking me about the new thing that he just stated for the 800,000 people. So that way, just to clear that up. So that's on Instagram. So always, if you want to hear like quick updates on things, they're always on Instagram. And then, yeah, so if there's anything else coming up, you let me know and I'll put it on my list. All right. I appreciate y'all. Fran's speech was great. I was like, this is very motivating. This is what we need. People do need a level of entertainment. I feel like it's easier to learn things when they're entertaining. And I feel like she did that. I was like, okay, Fran, it was give her an Emmy for this. Okay. So on that note, I will catch y'all later in the week. All right. Bye.